Residential contractor job costing management. Sometimes as a residential contractor, your jobs can feel kind of small until one of them wipes you out. Residential jobs can feel small to you sometimes until one wipes out the profitability of 4 others, and then they get really big. You want to know the difference between a business and a hobby? Start job costing. By the end of this video, you're going to know how to manage job costing across your residential or commercial jobs to tell you exactly what each produced and what they did as a whole. We had a residential contractor, actually super smart. They did about 28 projects in a year, and each of the projects between $800,000 and $2 million a year. So they ran a nice business. They didn't all close out the same year, but you get the point as to what size company they were running. And we sat down, they were years into their business, and I asked one time, hey, how do you know if that latest project, 3121 Maple Street, was profitable? And he's like, because we're profitable. I was like, no, but can you show me where that job was profitable? He's like, no, we're profitable. We kind of kept going back and forth. And what made me sad was not the fact he wasn't profitable. Clearly, he was profitable. We ran his P&Ls. We looked at his cash accounts. There were a lot of other indicators to show that, even though there are a lot of construction businesses that have cash in the account and have a in the black P&L, but are not profitable. That's a whole nother story. But in this particular case, he had tended to run low and lean on his overhead and had run really well on his margins, and so over time done it. But here was the sad part to me, is he had all those 28 projects just in that year that were feeding off all this information that he was never able to gather. And so part of job costing is not just what it does from you from a profit monetary standpoint, but it's also what job costing can do for you from an information standpoint, so you can make better decisions moving forward and have a lot more confidence in your decision making as a construction business owner. So job costing in construction, if we were just break it down, is really in basic component parts. Super easy if we think about it. Number one is we look at contract value, then we subtract cost of goods that are broken down in a simple slime metaphor. And so that slime means subcontractors, labor, material, and equipment. So that's usually what makes up your cost of goods. From here, you get your gross profit, and then out of that, we subtract your overhead or day-to-day fixed variable expenses that are in the business, basically the running the business expenses, and then out of that, we get your net income at the bottom. So that's what the job makes or the business makes, and we can cost code your overhead and your cost of goods to see how much of this contract value was taken by subcontractors, by W-2 labor that you ran through cost of goods, by material, by equipment, either that you own or somebody else's own. And so we have this in here, and then through that, we take your overhead, that's your payroll, your fixed expenses, your rent, internet, all those elements that you have to pay on a regular basis, whether you have work or not. Cost of goods, theoretically, if you don't have work, you don't have cost of goods. Overhead, a lot of times, if you don't have work, you still have that unless you were to let those go in those times, but we got to keep that usually pretty stable. That's basic job costing from a formulaic standpoint, but why does that matter as it goes job to job to job? So I've drawn these pictures of these houses up here, house 1, 2, 3, and 4 respectively. So I want you to imagine this job cost package in every one of these jobs. So we've got a job costing for job 1, for job 2, for job 3, and for job 4. Why does this matter? Because we can start to see job by job the profitability of that job. So let's imagine the empty space is your cost of goods, and the space down here is your gross profit. And so your cost of goods up here and your gross profit down here. Same, cost, gross profit, cost, gross profit, cost, gross profit. So I want you to imagine this. You go through each one of these builds. You do proper job costing on a basic spreadsheet. You look at the estimate versus the actual on each one. So we go estimate over here, actual over here, estimate, actual, rinse and repeat through 3 and 4. And now we can see, I want you to think about the information that you have now. Because you did a subset of these 4 houses, you determined that the greatest amount of profit was here and here. What made these jobs not as profitable and what made these jobs more profitable? You start to have the data so you can start to over-index on jobs 2 and 4 and under-index either on jobs 1 and 3 or the factors that created the lack of profitability in jobs 1 or 3. Now, in some cases, not much you can do about it. It was a one-off. It was during a pandemic way back in the day or whatever it might be. But there's a lot of cases you can actually leverage this to make better decisions. Maybe the lots you bought were here 1 and 3, they had some similarity, but 2 and 4 were different lots. Maybe the material vendors, the subcontractors, the labor, the equipment that you leveraged on these were different than you did with 2 and 4. And so you can start to ask questions once you start to have the data. But if you don't have the data of healthy job costing, then you can't ask the questions. Now, let me show you where this fits into the greater whole of your business. Every business is made up of 4 foundational cornerstones: purpose, people, process, and profit. Now, job costing fits within that profit vertical right here. But each of these are the 4 foundational cornerstones of every business that exists. So here's what I want you to do at the end of this video. Go click on the link in the description below. I have built a powerful masterclass for you. It's a long-form training class on how to build systems for your construction business so that you understand where the job costing fits within the larger whole of the purpose, people, process, and profit, and also the 4 core of every business: marketing, sales, ops, and admin. And so it helps you build a construction company that can run and grow with or without you, and it will give you some motivation to start job costing job by job by job in each one of these elements. Now, Scott, you said spreadsheet. Can I use software for this? Of course you can use software. In fact, I've got another video in the description link below where I walk through job costing as it relates to software. So I've got another video that will actually explain our methodology on software and job costing. But for now, just start with a spreadsheet. And in that spreadsheet, put your contract value, track your cost of goods according to your SLME, subs, labor, material, and equipment. And then from that, you'll see your gross profit. And then from your gross profit, we can start to make some general assumptions. And then once you suck out your overhead, we can get real specific about how to create better profitability job by job, how to make sure you get the right jobs, you have the right people cost coded to the right jobs, and frankly, you have the right people on the team. There are a lot of construction owners that they go into jobs and they go, oh, we need this role. And we're like, whoa, do you? Have we looked at that cost of that role and what it does to the actual production of this job based on the job costing of these particular jobs and what we can learn from them? So the management of your job costing comes not when you just job cost one job, but when you job cost multiple jobs. And from those multiple jobs, you can begin to make some real good assumptions on the whole of your business. And what this will start to do is mitigate a lot of the chaos that you feel as a contractor. That's why I told you about that video in the description link below to go build a construction company based on systems, is because most construction companies are known by their chaos. And instead, we want to help you build something so that you can be liberated from that chaos to make time for the things that matter most.